Something powerful is brewing beneath the surface, both on planet Earth as well as in collective consciousness, and 3i Atlas may very well be the catalyst for both. In a psychic forecast, I'll share with you a shocking earthquake vision that I just received, and why we need to prepare for some huge global changes. Something huge is getting ready to happen. I can feel it. It could be on the geopolitical front, it could be in a lot of areas, but I do believe earthquake, volcanic activity, or atmospheric activity is a big part of that. And if you've been feeling like a crackling in the air or just a sense of something's changing, you're probably tuned into what's going on. So let me move further. Just a quick video today. And I'll start with the vision and talk about a few new, I'll start with the vision that I had and then talk about a couple new insights or visions that I had around 3i Atlas and what that means and tie everything together. And at the end, we'll talk about how to prepare. It's not doom and gloom, but be aware, not scared, right? That's important. So geological activity is picking up, and we're heading into, or we're in the process of experiencing one of the most active, if not the most active, geologically active periods in history for the last 150 years or so. So we feel that there's some big earthquakes, volcanoes on the horizon. We've had a few that happened already. And there are three reasons why I believe there's going to be a very large or multiple large earthquake events here on planet Earth. The first reason is the vision that I had. And I had just the other day, I was just meditating. I just had a very strong vision, like I could feel it in my body, of a big earthquake. And it was like a jagged line in the earth, and black smoke was billowing out of the opening of the earth. I'm not sure how that happens in geological terms. It's just a vision. Sometimes visions are symbolic, sometimes they're literal. And when I have a specific vision about something, I don't know the timeline. Usually it's going to happen within a matter of months, but they've been known to happen a year or even 2 years later. So the idea is to prepare now. Nothing's imminent, nothing that I'm picking up on is going to happen tomorrow, but be aware it could. I'll put it to you that way. So that's number one. So it felt like California, and it felt closer to the coast. Not necessarily the, not, what's the name of that fault line? The San Andreas fault. There's a lot of fault systems in California, but it could really be anywhere. It's just a vision, but it really felt like California to me. And as you know, if you've been following my prediction, that starting September, I told you guys that California, the San Andreas, is on high alert, as well as the Cascadia subduction zone off of Northern California, the Pacific Northwest. That could lead to tsunamis also. And then starting October, the new Madrid fault that runs along the Mississippi, as well as the East Coast, is on higher alert for earthquake activity. And the Carolinas, even the Northeast, but the New Madrid is very suspect. Now, in none of these areas, nothing unusual has been happening. There's been some slight uptick in earthquake activity in California lately, but nothing that's sounding the alarms that I'm aware of. Same thing on the New Madrid, but something to really keep an eye on, basically. And I also had a second vision that I had a while ago about men in hazmat suits, or people, not necessarily men, going through rubble, structures collapsed, but this was in the desert, so I do feel like the Middle East also could be in line for a huge earth event or something of that nature. And let me see what else. And add to that, the likelihood of earthquake volcanoes will increase across the globe. So we also have probably another big one, even a bigger one in Drake Passage. I mean, if the Earth's going to vent in Drake Passage, good. Nobody really goes there. That's between the southern tip of South America and Antarctica. Those earthquakes tend not to be big tsunami producers anyway. We just had a 7.6 after 7.5 after 7.2. There could be an 8.0 there. And I've mentioned other areas in other videos, so I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but the Philippines really came up again. I picked up on the Philippines. It was just weeks later that the first of three very powerful earthquakes happened there. The Kamchatka Peninsula, if I'm pronouncing that right, I think there's still more activity there. That's where we had the 8.8 megaquake. And of course, there's other areas that are detailed in other videos. So that's the first region. The second is prophecy. And you look at things like Mayan prophecy, Hopi prophecy, revelations in the Bible, Jesus is all of that disclosure that's found in the book of Mark. I think it's chapter 23 or 24, or that the book of Matthew or Mark. And there's others. I have them written down. The Sixth Seal of Revelations, Edgar Casey, Nostradamus. They're all talking about the earth changes around this time. And they're all talking about big earthquakes, the earth shaking as part of the prophecies that's heralding in these earth changes. The old earth has to fall. Old earth is crashing. That's what it says on the thumbnail. But new earth is rising out of its ashes. So a lot's got to change. And the earthquake could be in consciousness. It could be in the government. All of the above. But don't fear the change. Change has to happen. The old has to fall for the new to rise up. Just be prepared, and we're getting to that. And the third thing is the wild card. 3I Atlas, the interstellar object, maybe an interstellar comet, maybe an alien craft. We don't know exactly what it is, but so far, all appearances is that it's some kind of an interstellar object, maybe imbued with some form of life we don't understand, some form of consciousness, some extraterrestrial or interdimensional intelligence, but it's changing the electromagnetic circuitry of the inner solar system. Science is coming more and more aboard on that theory that is probably a fact. I believe it's definitely a fact, and other good people do. So let me dive into this, because some important dates are coming up, October the 21st and October the 29th, where this interstellar object is going to be in a position to have maximum effects on the sun as well as on planet Earth. So it's performed a superior conjunction while the sun and the moon are in a conjunction, which is a new moon. So it's right at the new moon when the moon is in front of the sun, so that affects the electromagnetic circuitry between the sun and the earth, because the moon is right in between. But then on the other side of the sun, in superior conjunction, 3I Atlas with a coma that through infrared photography said it's shown to be more than half the diameter of the sun, which it probably has plasma. We know it has dust and other low density matter associated with it. It's probably going to do something to enhance the electromagnetic circuitry. And we saw that as it was coming closer to the sun, that it appeared to be pulling like plasma out of the sun, not literally, but creating these plasma, or these coronal ejections, plasma ejections, filament ejections, that's the word I'm looking for, that was looping towards it in Mars, which is very interesting. There's no proof of this, but there's a lot of evidence that supports that this object has an electrical magnetic potential, and in that position, and there's other astrological aspects that are happening, that it's likely to affect the sun and create more instability, which leads to more solar flares and other phenomena. That also science is showing that the patterns of solar activity has an effect on the geology and what's going on in the planet, and of course on collective consciousness, the earth consciousness, and the collective fields. So on the 20, also R2 Swan, another comet, this one being a solar system comet. It's going to be at its closest approach to Earth, which is quite close. And there's other comets in the inner solar system. A lot seem to be converging right as 3i Atlas is in this solar effective position to affect the Earth. And then as it starts to pull away, these comets also pull away. So there's something going on. There's something in consciousness, some kind of an energy or a beacon that's showing there's change and things that are shifting, basically. So then on October 29th, the 3i Atlas will reach its perihelion, or closest approach to the sun, which will be 1.36 astronomical units. I got the numbers wrong in my last video, so it's 1.36, which is about 1.36 times the distance between the sun and the earth. That's what an astrological unit is. And the moon's going to be squaring it. It's going to be the first quarter of the moon, so there's going to be a lunar square. And there's something else. I didn't write it down, but there's something. Oh, Mercury's at its easternmost, its greatest eastern elongation. So basically on that night, Mercury's going to be highest in the sky, is what that means. So it's farther away. It's still in the elliptical, but in an astrological sense, it's at its greatest distance. And we know that Mercury in that inner solar system is part of the sun's electromagnetic field also. So anyway, so I had a vision back around mid-August of 3IA developing its own luminosity, which could be a function of interacting with the sun. It could be some form of bioluminescence, although it may not be biological, chemical luminescence based on its composition or something like that. So during its passage, closer to the sun, behind the earth, close to the sun, I believe there's going to be some ejection of some interstellar matter or some plasma releases, or both, basically, that it'll get pulled off of the object. And it could even break apart this object to some degree, depending on how well it's put together. And we're not going to be able to see that because it's behind the sun. There's no way that we can see that from Earth, or any of the sensors or orbiting cameras can see that, like James Webb or Hubble, basically. So very little is still known, but we believe its coma is plasma dust, and it's very large, and will have an effect on the inner planet circuitry, leading to solar enhancement, which scientists are beginning to show increases the potential for earthquakes, volcanoes, and other activities here on the Earth. So there are three reasons. And from a spiritual perspective, I believe there is some level of consciousness associated with 3i Atlas, whether it's extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or it's imbued with cosmotary consciousness. At the very least, it's got a wealth of knowledge about the inner galaxy, because it evolved out of Sagittarius, where a galactic center is. But in any event, it's a sign of change. It's a harbinger of change. Comets are said to be that in general, and now there's 7 of them, and more even, in the inner solar system. That would be including 3i Atlas. So there could possibly be a change of like a new Messiah, like the Christmas star. I did a short video that what if somehow the plasma envelope around 3i Atlas, when it emerged back into view of the Earth at the end of November into December, what if that lit up? I mean, it's not really possible based on what we know of astrophysics, but what if? It's a miracle, right? Or if somehow it ejected a plasma filament or part of the comet itself, or the interstellar object itself, that came close enough to Earth to create that effect, like a bright object in the sky just before Christmas. Pure conjecture, I know, but it's interesting to think about things. So back to my notes. From a spiritual perspective, we talked about that. So it's a sign of change, possibly of a new Messiah. All right, we said that. And And we believe that there's a real rebirth energy that's happening, that it's really a sign of new earth emerging, and that it's exchanging information with the collective consciousness, with the earth herself, and upgrading the energy, so upgrading consciousness, increasing the frequencies or the velocity of energies affecting collective consciousness, allowing for new information to open up, for new information to be introduced into the collective field, which is basically a way of saying of awakening. So it's affecting the Earth conscious fields, downloading new light code sequences, helping to catalyze global ascension while helping to tear down the old Earth. Anyway, the thing to do is to prepare. Now, if you're on the West Coast, you're on earthquake watch. I mean, that means the chances are greater that a major event could happen. Now, the last major event was in, what year is that, 1987? So even on greater alert, it's still a low probability, but since I have that vision, I would say to prepare anyway. Prepare for the worst, hope that nothing happens. That means basically having enough food and supplies, and also doubling down on your spiritual practices is important also. Know what to do if an earthquake or tsunami strikes. Because if we're talking about the news, the New Madrid also, but if we're talking about the Arcadia subduction zone, if there's a mega quake there, that would produce a tsunami that would affect the west coast of the United States and the Pacific Ocean. So it's good to be prepared, but the most important thing, again, have your supplies, food, medicines, money, all that stuff in case the power goes off. You can't gas up your generators, and that stuff. But the most important thing to know is that we're part of collective consciousness. We have help, whether it's through God or Source, through extraterrestrials, a combination of various things. The worst case scenarios from these prophecies, stretching across many different texts and many different times, it's just not going to happen because we are being watched over. I really firmly believe things will happen. The earth will shake, and it's going to create some displacement of people and create changes in our lives in some areas of the earth. But I don't feel like the worst case scenario will happen because God's Spirit or Source wants to ascend and evolve, doesn't want the earth to be destroyed. So just know that that's happening. The more that we can feed the collective with positive energy, both individually as well as in group settings, putting the prayers out there, doing energy work, connecting with you, or sending a lot of love, doing this in groups. And we do this on the channel also. The more it's going to smooth out the energy and allow the earth's change to happen more smoothly, the more that humanity resists, the rougher it'll be. So we need that shaking. That's part of the Hopi prophecies. We're in the third shaking right now. So we need that in order to fulfill the prophecies and in order for humanity to ascend. But a little preparation and positive energy and working together and working with the collective fields, we're going to get through it. Humanity's going to ascend, and we're going to come into a golden age of enlightenment. So let me post a couple of videos. I did a recent one here to give you more details on 3i Atlas, the latest information, and I'll post one over here with a more complete psychic forecast for the autumn season in particular, and a few key points on this one. So anyway, hope you